Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at race number 8 at Kentucky Downs on Thursday. It's the $500,000 Dueling Grounds Oaks. Let's throw up the field. 3-year-old fillies going 10.5 furlongs. A big field, and we have a pretty strong favorite on the morning line, and I guess deservedly so. The 9 Harvey's Little Goyle is a graded stakes winner on turf. She just ran third behind Swiss Skydiver in the Alabama. It's Mott, it's Ortiz. I guess there's a lot to like here.
Yeah, I guess there is. We'll see what kind of price she goes off at, Dan. I don't have any problem with her in this race. I think she deserves to be the favorite. I'm not going to sit here and say that I would love to bet her at 9-5, but she's certainly landed in a pretty good spot, it looks like.
The number 1, Sursum Corda. We're going to take a look at the Timeform US pace projector because it could be key for this filly. And as you see, she is a deep closer. She doesn't even get a chiclet because she's expected to be so far off the pace. I'm not sure if the pace is going to be fast or slow. I kind of think Lucky Polly, Mike, the 3 might end up making the lead. But I do know that the 9, Harvey's Little Goyle, one of her greatest assets is her tactical speed. She will not be far behind, and she'll be getting the jump on these horses, turning into that long stretch.
Yeah, I agree with that. To go along with her talent, the trip that she pulls in this race could also be another advantage for her. There's not a ton of pace in here, Dan. I certainly don't see a ton of it. And so we'll see if it, works against some of the closers in here. But yeah, I think you're right. The favorite, if nothing else, should land in the right kind of trip in this race.
Fractionally speaking, Sursum Corda didn't get fast fractions in her last race, and she came from last to win. Let's watch that maiden race at Saratoga. She's this little filly who just altered course to the outside. She showed a lot of agility to get from the inside to the forepath in 2 strides, and this little filly's got a big run. She kicks home strong late to win with a 77 Beyer speed figure, finally putting it all together for Ian Wilkes. And Ian Wilkes is kind of conservative. The fact that he's running her here, I think he thinks a lot of this filly.
Yeah, she has really gotten better in her recent starts. That's for sure. Even her her third 2 back at Keeneland, Dan, they walked in front of her in that race, and she made a big late run to be gaining ground to get third. Last time, a very slow pace, and I know that wasn't a very strong field. The runner-up, Prairie Wings, who set that very slow pace, came back to win on dirt. But this filly just showed no quit in that race. Rosario gave her a perfect trip. She did the rest with a really nice run. I thought it was basically closed it down under strong handling as well. We'll see. It's a big step up in class for her, but I think she's headed the right way.
In from Southern California and dropping out of the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks is the number 2 Carpe Venom, who I think's worked out pretty good trips in both of her races this form cycle. 2 back at Del Mar against optional claimers, was just able to get that coveted pace tracking ground saving spot, bowled her way out 3 wide on the stretch and was able to win it. Last time out, similar trip, split horses, and just wasn't good enough on that day at a big price, probably a bit overmatched in that spot. Fits well here from a class standpoint. Curious to see how far she wants to go, but she can get a good trip.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I mean, I was kind of on the fence regarding her in this race because I like some of her races. I didn't think she ran that well last time when they bumped her up to a Grade 1. We'll see. I just didn't really see a big excuse for her, but I do respect her tactical speed. And I do think she has a race or two that would give her a chance in this race.
I liked some of Lucky Polly's races at Gulfstream over the winter. I thought her Here Comes the Bride was a little bit of an underrated performance. A race controlled on the lead by Cheermeister, didn't break very well, kind of in a tight spot in between horses 3 wide in the stretch. The Sanibel Island was probably too tough for her, but she came back off the break to win the Martha Washington against much weaker horses. There was a runaway pace setter in this race, Blue Mistress. Lucky Polly had to do some work to get to her, but boy, she had to do a lot of work to get to this horse who probably should have been tiring, and she's kind of lucky to get the bob.
Yeah, it just barely grinds her down at the end here, but she did get up. I guess if you want to give her credit, she did get up in that race off of a little bit of a layoff as well, so maybe she just wasn't completely fully tight for that race, and she'll take a step forward. I think she has to take a step forward to beat this field.
Stand Tall is the number 4, and let's go back to her win over the number 1 Sursum Corda at Keeneland. And Mike mentioned it perfectly. There was no pace on. Stand Tall is on the lead. Sursum Corda is going to try to come from the back of the pack. We see her on the far outside getting into it. But Stand Tall, when you give her 3/4 in 1:15 and a 6-length lead turning into the stretch, she's supposed to get up just as she did in the shadow of the wire.
It was a very game win. I mean, I'll give her credit for getting up at the end of that race, but she set a perfect trip. I mean, her and Fortuna, who wound up just getting nailed on the wire, they just went 1-2 around the track. They sat right up on the pace together, and this horse finally closed her down at the end. I mean, I would just rather have Sursum Corda out of that race, but this filly has good tactical speed, and she's very lightly raced.
She's also very well bred for this distance, being by Uncle Mo out of an Awesome Again mare, and she has at least shown the adaptability from a pace standpoint. If this pace is moderate, you know Johnny Velasquez, he's so smart. He's going to be right up close. Stunning Sky's another horse that can pull good trips. I thought she got one in the Lake Placid 2 starts back. Maybe she steadied a little bit when trying to get out at the quarter pole, but then just got right up the rail and couldn't finish at the end. Let's watch the Saratoga Oaks. I thought this was a good trip for her. She saved ground most of the way. She's in the yellow cap. She's angling 3 wide. She probably got the second best trip in the race. Antoinette, the 3, the winner, got the best trip on the lead. Stunning Sky, though, has the whole stretch to run down Antoinette and could not do so, and I'm beginning to wonder if this is becoming a trend.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I mean, maybe Antoinette had a little bit of a more comfortable trip than she did last time, but all in all, I mean, she had dead aim on that horse for the final furlong, and it looked like she was going to get her, and she just never got by. Her Lake Placid was fine. I agree with you that she got a good trip in that race. I didn't really see the excuse for her not to win. I'll say this. The distance I'm not worried about with her. I think she'll get the distance. I just don't know how much money I'd want to have on her on top in this race. And I think I might rather use her underneath.
Especially at 3-1. She's kind of light on the tote, and deservedly so, because she's faced some good horses in good races. I will say, in the regret when she was beaten by Harvey's Little Girl, I don't think she had a great trip in that race. Kind of last on the rail early, steadied on the turn, had to split horses. Maybe a little bit of an excuse there. How Ironic is the number 6. Let's go back to her recent race at Ellis Park. It's an allowance race, an entry-level allowance race, but How Ironic is going to rally from off of it to get it done with a 78 Beyer speed figure. We see her in these black blinkers. She's on her left lead, and once she changes, she's off to the races and she wins comfortably. She was 4th at a gigantic price in the Florida Oaks in her first start of the year. Vicky Oliver is a very underrated trainer that sometimes can pop at a big price.
Yeah, that's very true. This filly's fine. I mean, she has a running style that sort of makes you think she's going to have a lot to do in the stretch in this race. Ultimately, Dan, when I go back the replay that we watched there at Ellis, when I go back and look at that race, I mean, she did finish well in there. I'm not going to sit here and say that she didn't. She came with a really good run from off the pace, and she won easily. I just sort of felt like the horses that were on the lead in there were not running at the end of that race. So I'm not, I think that the close that she put in there might have been a little bit of a mirage. She ran fine. I think she has to run better than that.
Trainer Michael Stidham has a pair of Godolphin homebreds up next in the 7 Embossed and the 8 Micheline. I tried to make a case for Embossed, Mike. I'm a little bit of a fan of this filly, but last time out at Colonial Downs, I know there wasn't a lot of pace, and Abuda Kaba was right up close to it and just was able to hold off Embossed. But I thought Embossed, all in all, had a good trip, seemed to be going nowhere at the quarter pole, and then kind of finished evenly in between horses. Maybe she's just a grinder that wants more distance.
Yeah, I think that might be valid, that the added distance could work for her, because I agree with you. When I watch her races, I'm not impressed. I know it was older horses last time, but I didn't like that race from her. And 2 back in the Christiana, I didn't see her excuse there. She got a good trip, and she really didn't have that very much of a finish at all.
The shorter price on the tote come post time of the Godolphin duo is going to be the number 8 Micheline. I just didn't like the trip this horse got in the Lake George last time out. Last on the rail on the second turn, last on the rail turning into the stretch, and then weaving in between traffic and in between horses, and was running on at the end of that race. I'm not really too worried about her stretching out. I actually think the mile might have been a little short for her.
Yeah, I think the added distance could work for her too. I like this filly, Dan. I've been a fan of hers for a while, and I do think she fits really well in this race. I'm starting to wonder how much better she could actually get. I don't know if she has a ton of improvement left in her, but I think she's pretty good. And at 6-1, I think that's pretty fair.
We saw Bill Mott go dirt to turf and win the Saratoga Oaks with Antoinette. He went dirt to turf and he won the Grade 3 Regret with Harvey's Little Goyle, who just got up close to the pace that day in a very comfortable spot outside, made the lead in the stretch, and held off favored Crystal Cliffs at the very end. She ran just fine in the Alabama while overmatched against Swiss Skydiver, and she's simply the one to beat because she's got the tactical speed to work out a good trip. She's got the figs, she's got the company lines, she's got everything but value.
Right, and she'll get the distance too. I mean, she was never going to win the Alabama last time, but she probably ran the second best race there. And her turf race two back was just good. I mean, I don't really know what to say about it, Dan. It was just a good performance. And if she runs her best race in here, she's supposed to be tough.
Luck Money is the number 10, second last time out at Colonial Downs. A little bit of regression from a buyer standpoint that day, but I wonder if there was enough pace to set her up. She's never been off the board from 7 starts. She has a long-winded pedigree, but she's going to have to improve. Very good trainer on Arnaud de la Cour.
Very good trainer. She's supposed to get this distance. She hasn't really run a race yet, as far as I'm concerned, that's going to beat this field, but she'll be a big price.
From Lingfield to Louisiana was the 11 Island Hideaway, a European invader who's made 2 starts for Carl Broberg in Louisiana, including this race last time out. Optional claiming effort on August the 19th. This race was at an about mile distance, and I thought this horse got a really strong pace to run at, and he is firing now on the outside, just blows by this leader and is going to go about his business. 74 buyer speed figure is a little bit soft compared with some of the others, and this is a big step up in class, but this trainer wins lots of races.
Wins lots of races, and I guess, just going to step her up there. I'm sure that's what they wanted to see from her last time, making the big run to score easily. As you mentioned, the pace was really there for her, and she is stepping way up in class. This is a much better field.
Michael Maker with a price on the 12 Ask Bailey, 20-1 on the morning line. This horse won at Canterbury going a mile. Talk about a wicked pace. Boy, were they going in front of Ask Bailey, who made a 4-wide bid on the turn, made the front, drifted down towards the rail, and won going away. Not sure if she loved the yielding ground last time out in Indiana Grand, but the pace was also not there for her. I wonder if that big win has her dressed up a bit.
I think it might. She really didn't do that much running last time. And listen, maybe you're right. Maybe yielding ground is just what she hates. I just didn't really see a big excuse for her. She doesn't have a ton of early speed. She'll try and make one run into this thing, but she'll be a big price for a great trainer.
Speaking of a big price for an excellent trainer, as your top pick as we take a look at them in the Dueling Grounds Oaks, you're going with the 1, Sursum Corda. She's a hard trier. She's going to be firing in the lane, and she looked good winning that maiden at Saratoga. And best of all, what is she, 30-1 on the morning line?
Yeah, I think she'll get the distance. Obviously, you don't have to worry about that. And I just think she's headed the right way. It feels like with every race that she runs, she just keeps getting better, and she's just going to be overlooked in the wagering here. I respect Harvey's Little Goyle. I think she's the horse to beat. But other than that, Dan, the favorites didn't really throw me in this race. I'd rather take a price.
Maybe I made a mistake in just kind of conceding to Harvey's Little Goyle based on all of the attributes we mentioned in discussing her. Maybe I should have put Micheline on top because she's a square price on the morning line, and I think she has just enough ability as Harvey's Little Goyle. I want to use Micheline the 8 in there somewhere, but I think Harvey's Little Goyle, if she runs her Regret, if she runs her Alabama, is supposed to win this race. Mike's going 1, 9, 8, and 5. I'm going 9, 5, 8, and 3. It is the Dueling Grounds Oaks. $500,000 is the purse, and race number 8 at Kentucky Downs on Thursday has an approximate post time of 3:59 Central. Best of luck.